Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So many franchise dealerships within the US right now are filing for bankruptcy. Many of them are closing their doors. We had over 80 franchise dealerships go bankrupt, shut their doors permanently here in 2024. That's not including the hundreds of mom and pop used vehicle dealerships that have also closed here in 2024. In today's video, I really want to talk through what happens when a dealership needs to close. What happens to those vehicles? You know, we're seeing it right now with over half of Nissan dealerships within the US losing money month to month. Well, there's a lot of Ford dealerships also losing money month to month. And well, we all know the current state for Stellantis, right? Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, their stock has gone down over 50% just since the beginning of this year. They're not looking good. Let's talk through it in this video. So for starters, what goes into becoming a franchisee? How do you become an owner of a Toyota dealership? How do you become an owner of a Nissan dealership? No matter what it is, you have to apply to become a franchisee. And generally speaking, in order to become one of those large tier name brands like Toyota, you need to show the wherewithal or the means necessary to keep that company afloat during tough times. For example, I actually looked into it personally before. In order to become a Toyota franchise owner or franchisee, you need to show at least $2 million in your bank account. You need to be able to show means of providing at least $2 million to keep that company or that franchise afloat if things get rough. I feel like I should mention there is a lot more that actually goes into becoming a franchisee, but when it comes to the monetary piece, you do need to show a large sum of savings and money set aside to actually keep the company afloat. Obviously, they want to make sure that you are going to be a good fit and a good representation of the brand. That's a huge part of it, so I think that's important to throw out here too. Real quick, let's talk flooring cost. I know we mentioned it a few times on the channel before, but just as a reminder, every vehicle that is on a dealership lot costs that dealership money every single month. Think of it like a credit card. It has a compounding interest rate per vehicle, unless they buy the vehicle outright, which very few dealerships actually do that. They'll have a compounding interest rate per vehicle that just adds up over time. And when you have thousands of vehicles just sitting, collecting dust, rotting on their lot, well, that seems to add up, and that definitely is a way that the dealership could be shooting themselves in the foot. If they're able to move that inventory early and even take a loss on it, I would wager that A, they're going to build a good customer base. The customer is going to really appreciate the savings, of course, on the vehicle, and they're going to ultimately become a returning customer, hopefully when times are a little bit better for the dealership too. So take a loss early, and it will ultimately save the dealership. But so many dealers are greedy, and they're just afraid to do that. So many car salesmen are actually throwing in the towel, quitting, and just leaving the dealership business, right? They're moving on to a different line of work. I've read a couple different reports, but it seems to be ranging between 11 and 13% of all car salesmen within the US have actually quit this year. I know that may not sound that extreme, 11 to 13%, but when we're talking having thousands and thousands of dealerships within the US, that really is a staggering statistic to think about. And why is it? That's of course because they're no longer able to make the same level of sales that they have been recently, right? They're generally paid on a commission basis. Sometimes they're paid an hourly wage, but that commission helps supplement that income for them. So if they're not selling vehicles, which not many dealerships are right now, that is definitely hurting their paycheck and their bottom line individually. Which is why I firmly believe that the wholesale market or the auction market has really hindered the automotive world. It's hindered the car market in general because oftentimes the dealership will just be quick to auction off the vehicle or wholesale it because they know they can do so easily and quickly, rather than selling it for that same price or just a little bit more to a customer. You and I walking into a dealership getting that wholesale price. They'd rather just wholesale it. And that has always served as a safety net to the dealership. And I think that has really hindered customer relations over the years with many dealerships, especially when we've seen quarters like this last quarter where there was an 18% drop in the wholesale market. Generally speaking, the wholesale market trails behind the retail market for you and I, the consumer, about a quarter. So 3 to 4 months later, we begin to see those 18% savings, as we just seen with this last quarter here. So here at the beginning of 2025, you are going to be able to get an exceptional deal on a new and used vehicle. Your trade-in value, if you're trading in a vehicle, is going to be pretty bleak. Let me prepare you for that. But getting an excellent deal on a new vehicle or a lightly used one, that's going to be great. Because the wholesale market has gone down so much recently, it's no longer a safety net for dealers. And while the dealers that got used to leveraging the wholesale market or the auction itself, those are the ones who are struggling the most. They have a really hard time coming to grips with the fact that they just can't throw it to auction, but instead they need to sell it to you, the consumer. And that's more of a headache for them, and they're just not used to it at this point. So a lot of people are actually doing what we did recently with our GX470 here. They're going out, they're not buying a brand new vehicle, and they're buying one outright rather than taking on a huge loan with a terrible interest rate, which we are seeing commonplace right now. Instead, getting rid of an auto loan. getting rid of an auto loan and enjoying a very reliable vehicle. It might take some wrenching here and there and doing some of your own work on it, but heaven forbid you have a vehicle that's paid off. You don't have to worry about that additional payment that's, again, just hurting you every single month. Right now in the US, we are seeing over 2.9 million brand new vehicles available. That is up 120% since 2023. That's pretty staggering if you think about it. We are seeing that because so many people can't afford the astronomically priced new vehicles out there right now. Anytime you look at a new vehicle, they're well over $50,000 generally speaking. And heaven forbid you want a family hauler, you're looking at spending $70,000 plus for that. You know, we went and looked at some Ford Expeditions the other day. Many of them were between $80,000 and $93,000. The GMC Yukon XL, same thing. They just have gotten wildly overpriced and people just can't keep up with that. Nowadays, people are kind of doing this. You know, they're buying a vehicle, a used vehicle, and then driving it for multiple years. They're driving it to, instead of 3 to 5 years, they're driving it 5 to 7 years, holding on to it, doing some additional maintenance rather than taking on a big loan. It appears that a lot of dealerships within the US are waiting for a bailout. These franchise dealerships for GM, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, Ford, they're waiting for a bailout. They think it's going to happen. They're like, no way our government would let us flounder again, right? They saved us once, they'll have to save us again. I don't think that's going to be the case. And I'm actually hopeful that it is not going to be the case, if I'm being honest with you. They don't deserve a bailout. If they're going to be greedy and take advantage of you, the consumer, well, I'd say they reap what they sow. What do you think? So a very important question is what happens to the vehicles after a dealership does close their doors? After a dealership does go bankrupt, what happens to the huge amount of inventory sitting on their lot? Well, like I mentioned before, they're typically going to be paying month to month an interest, a flooring cost on each of those vehicles. Well, that gets turned back over to the franchise owner. So if it's a Ford dealership, all those Fords on their dealership lot will get handed over to Ford, and then Ford can reallocate all those vehicles to different dealerships. They can spread them all out or just direct them to a dealership that is maybe in a little bit more of a populated area and performing better. And the unfortunate truth is so many dealerships became sharks with blood in the water during the pandemic, right? They were able to capitalize on markups, charging $10,000, $15,000 or more on desirable trim vehicles. They would charge these markups and take advantage of us, the consumer. And well, like I said, they're like sharks with blood in the water. They got greedy, right? They got greedy and they just refused to let go of it. And by them refusing to let go, it's only hurting them now. They need to let go and they need to take a loss on their vehicles or they will end up closing their doors. In my opinion, dealerships need to hunker down right now and they need to focus on relationships over revenue. They really do, right? So they need to be cutting their losses and cutting their losses early, like we talked about, and really just capitalizing on the fact that right now, earning you as a returning customer is far more important than making a few dollars on a vehicle. We got a puppy dog feature. Hi, buddy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy, Duke. Oh, we got another puppy dog feature. Good girl. Hey, Zozo. Hi. We talk about it plenty on the channel. The cost of living has gotten out of hand, right? Between the cost of groceries, the cost of mortgage, your rent, the cost of insurance, everything is just piled up. And it's gotten really difficult to keep up with. And buying a new vehicle, well, that's often the last thing on people's minds when things are already tight and difficult just to make ends meet. And well, we're seeing that with inventory levels right now. They're through the roof, and dealerships, well, they can't even hide it right now. They can't hide them on their back lots, their secondary or third lots. In fact, they're all just right out front now for the public to see, oftentimes with 1- and 2-year-old vehicles, brand new vehicles, still sitting on their lots. I'm talking 2023 and 2024 models still sitting collecting dust on their lots. Something's got to give for them. And we talked about it before, but with Stellantis in particular, they're actually going back to the drawing board now. They're determining which of their 14 brands underneath the Stellantis umbrella they're going to cut, whether it's Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, Fiat, whatever it is. How are they going to trim the fat for the betterment of the company moving forward? We just saw recently the Stellantis CEO, he stepped down, he resigned. Not much of a surprise there. But shifting over to our German friends, we've seen it with Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, BMW. They have recently reported high profit losses in the recent months. Between that and high job cuts, cutting their personnel, we've seen that from Nissan. It's just continuing to compound and become a snowball. And well, there's really no end in sight. There's vehicle manufacturers out there right now that are experiencing this for the first time ever, right? This is uncharted territory, unprecedented for Toyota in particular. They're used to receiving a bunch of inventory, but selling it pretty quick. But now we're seeing Toyota Tundras sit on dealership lots for 220 to 250 plus days, just sitting on dealership lots. that is uncharted territory for them. They don't really know how to respond to that. Obviously, they're slashing prices $10,000 to $12,000 off of MSRP, but that's not even sufficient. Same goes for the Toyota Tacoma, the new generation four-banger Tacoma. People don't love that either. Again, unprecedented for Toyota. So watching them navigate this has been pretty fascinating. And well, many Toyota dealerships have actually gotten used to the opposite. They've gotten used to taking advantage of people, charging premiums, these protection packages, hiking up the MSRPs with addendums. They've gotten used to doing that, especially with their desirable TRD Pro trims, right? But now they can't do that, and it's fascinating watching them backpedal. So I'll wrap up the video there, and I'll leave you with this. You, as the consumer, are absolutely in the driver's seat right now. Don't walk into a dealership and don't let them bully you around, because you can absolutely be very choosy with what you buy and how much you pay and what those conditions are on that purchase. You should absolutely expect a huge discount. I'm talking several $1,000s off of the MSRP, in addition to an incentivized interest rate. Any dealership can do that. They can't just claim, oh, well, this is what the banks are offering. If they want to sell it, they'll get creative and they'll offer you a tremendous deal. So you should certainly expect that. And if you don't get that from your local dealership, what do? Get back in your car, drive up the road, go to the next dealership, because there's definitely going to be one willing to play ball right now, because if they don't, well, there's a chance that they might need to close their doors permanently. So appreciate you taking the time to tune into these videos. If you appreciate this type of content, as always, I respectfully request that you consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a lot, and it certainly doesn't go unnoticed. Until next time.